Hey, it's ya boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, hitting you with another brand spanking review. Brand spanking new review. Jesus Christ, learn to talk! Anyway, for King-Ohger, episode 4. So far, I've been very pleasantly entertained by King-Ohger. I think it's been very consistently good so far. I'm not quite over my feelings of grief and loss with Don Brothers. But it's been really good so far, and I've been really impressed with it. And this episode was another really good episode for that. So, like I said in the previous reviews, I really like this kind of slow burn we're getting where we're introducing slowly each member of the team. Now, a lot of recent Reiwa era Sentai has done that, right? Like Ryusoulger did to an extent, Kier Major did to an extent, well, they got kind of introduced in that episode 0 movie, but whatever. Zenkaiger did it, Down Brothers did it to an extent. I kind of like it. Some other people like kind of wait to review, which I respect, until the team is together, and then they kind of review all up to that point, But I kind of like going episode by episode just because you're getting these nice little moments with the characters where you're able to kind of like see the way that they, talk about things and, the way they interact and the way that they behave with the other characters, and I really like that. As you guys know, I'm huge on character and story, clearly. But yeah, so this episode focuses on Kaguragi Debowski, Hachioger. So the last episode, they end up in Tofu, right? And Gira is separated from Yanma and what's her name? Himena, right? So from Tamba-Ohger and Kamakiri-Ohger. And it's nice because you get this little moment between Yanma and Himena, where she doesn't really know a whole lot about the legend of the King-Ohgers and like how everything goes together, the prophecy and all that. So he kind of gets to go into more detail with her. He basically says to her at first, though, it's kind of funny. He's like, really, you're a King-Ohger, but you have no idea of the legend that gave you your power? Which I kind of like. I like them kind of challenging that. Like, not that he doesn't think she should be on the team, but he's kind of surprised she doesn't know that because she carries herself as somebody who knows quite a bit. And so he kind of reiterates that a little bit, talks about the one god, the other like greater gods. So the god Kabuto, the god Centipede. There's two other ones too. Anyway, I can't remember their names, but there's 3 of them. And specifically God Kabuto, and that it's like to her, it's like a mega Kuwagata basically, and she wants that one too because it's pretty, right? And that's her thing. And so they're trying to make their way to Tofu. And trying to find Gira as well. Gira is separated, and he is met by Kaguragi Debowski, who's the leader of Tofu, who tells him that he is willing to help him, to join him. And he tells him, even after Gira tells him that he wants to stop, like, deliver me to Rackley's right now because I want to kick his ass because he's an asshole, right? He's a despot. And Kaguragi just instantly, like, basically accepts, and Gira's like, okay, because nobody has so far. And before this, Tambo and Kamakiri-Ohger actually fight someone in, maybe they all do, I think. Anyway, they fight someone piloting, what's it called? Kabuto, the shoe god Kabuto. And they think it's Rockley's in it. Come to find out, it's actually Hachioger. Remember, if we remember right from the last few episodes, he in the background has been working with Rockley's a deal to get him Gira, to get him some kind of, I don't know, power protection or something. I don't really know. But, yeah, and so we find out this is mainly just to keep his people safe, and that Tofu, we get introduced to the people on how Tofu works. It's this agricultural farming type country, and essentially he lets them know that they're like the breadbasket and the food center for their world, and that without them they'd all fall apart because everybody needs food, everybody needs sustenance, right? And so I kind of like this. Again, I like that we're getting these little glimpses into these different countries, if you will, these different, nations, if you will, and it's giving us a taste of each one of them and what they contribute to the overall group, right? Himena with Ishibana being like medicine and pretty things, of course. Nakospa with Yama being about technology, and him being the one that worked on the shoe gods to make them mechanical and stuff. Clearly Papillon-Ohger being the jail and Gokhan. And now Hachioger with the whole food thing, right? So I like that. I like we're getting these separate little things. And I hope it continues. I hope that we don't get to a point where they just like don't go back to the other places and we never see the other countries until the end of the episode or the end of the season. I think it'd make me kind of sad. But anyway, so Hachioger puts on this whole like facade of like he does this, he's saying boo hoo hoo is what it translates to in the subtitles. He's like he's being like dramatically crying. He's not really crying, and he helps fight some of the Bugnarok for a little bit, but he at the dinner table gets kind of mad because Desnarak, the leader of the Bugnarok, threatens him to give up Kabuto, God Kabuto. And he's like, oh, give me a month. No, a year. And he's like, oh, I'll give you a day. And Kaguragi's like, okay. But again, we get many instances throughout the show that talks about how proud Kaguragi is of his country. And that he talks about many times that to keep his people safe and to keep them, producing what they produce in terms of food, you have to kind of get your hands dirty, put your hands in the mud and get your hands dirty to kind of, get through to your goal, right? And so that kind of explains his the reasonings behind why he's even willing to work with Rock Lee, is that he probably doesn't really want to, but he knows that if he does, there might be something he might get out of it that might give him an advantage somehow. So he's kind of playing the game a little bit, and I kind of like this because he kind of presents himself as a big oaf asshole at first, but then you kind of see that he's a lot smarter than that, which I appreciate. Again, Sentai throwing out the just completely exterminating the tropes the way we see with different color rangers. But yeah, he has this moment where he they're all eating. They're about to feast, basically. Yanma and Gira and Himena. All have names. Let's talk about that. So they're about to eat, and he's like, well, my country is in danger. And they just keep talking and arguing about the food and everything. And he's like, and he flips the table over, and all the food goes all over the place, and all his servants grab it, which is really weird. And the reflex is just insane. And so he says, my country's in danger. He's like, what I just did right there, that is what will happen to this entire world if Tofu is gone. We need to take this seriously. I need your guys' help. And Gira decides to help him only when Kaguragi says, we got to think of protecting the children, because he could pick up pretty early on that Gira gets along with kids, right? And is able to kind of connect with kids. There's a moment earlier where Gira is given a vegetable by a kid and takes a bite out of it right away, even though it's covered in dirt and whatever. Takes a bite out of it and loves it, says it's really good. And that's where Kaguragi, yes, is trying to ingratiate Gira with his people, but is also trying to read him a little bit. You get the idea that Kaguragi is very good at reading people and understanding who they are, to his advantage or his disadvantage, who knows, but he's really good at reading people, and I think that's a really interesting trait for him to have. And it works well in this kind of political, intrigue type of sense that the season has. So he says that, and they decide to help him and everything. And he meets the Bugnarok at basically the Quarry of Destiny, as I've talked about before, where all the battles happen in Sentai and Rider. He says, okay, yep, we have the treasure. It's right here. And he gives it to what's it called? Desnarak, and it's just a tomato. He's like, tomato? And he's like, that's my greatest treasure. That's what I have to offer you. And he basically threatens him back, trying to say, we'll crush you and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, I can't allow that. I will not allow my people to be crushed. If they're crushed, then the food will be crushed. And I can't allow the wonderful, beautiful things my people grow to be crushed by the likes of you. And we get to see him transform, and it's fucking cool. His okay buso. And it's very kabuki theater-esque, and I really like it. It's very extra, but it's very stylish, and I really enjoy it, and the way he fights. My man starts off the fight doing a sumo stomp on the ground, and it causes explosions under the feet of the Bugnarok. It's fucking cool. We do get a little bit of a lore drop earlier, I forgot to mention this, where Yama talks about the Shoe Gods, the greater Shoe Gods like Kabuto and the others, and he's actually 2 years prior to the start of the series talking to Rock Lee's about it, and Rock Lee says, well, they're not, he's asking where they're at, and he's like, well, they're not as around, as always around as much, because when they were created, they kind of basically relations with the greater Shoe Gods and humanity kind of fell apart. And so they decided to move to other worlds. They moved away from the human world, and they decided to keep themselves, secluded. And he's like, well, that's going to be a problem. He's like, well, if they, despise humans so much, then we might have to just basically through brute force control them. Which I don't know why that wasn't a red flag to Yama at that point, at least he wasn't listening, but whatever. Anyway, Kaguragi beats ass. We get to see him using his sword, his Ohsama caliber. And we do get some really cool fights before that with Tamba Ohger, Kamakiri Ohger, and King-Ohger fighting some Bugnarok too, and it's really, really good choreography. The fight choreography is out of this world. The shots, the slow-mo, the colors, it's just beautiful. So a pretty good fight. They form King-Ohger, of course, and Hachioger is in Kabuto, God, great god Kabuto, and he's actually fighting against them. And they're like, "What? It's not Rockleys?" And he's like, "No, blah blah blah. I've tricked you, I've deceived you. I'm working with Rockleys to get what I want, and blah blah blah, and to protect my people." And Gira basically challenges him and laughs at him. He's like, "What's so funny?" He's like, "Well, then you'll just be a puppet." He's like, "What do you mean? I'm no puppet." He's like, "Well, you're taking orders from someone else, doing what they tell you to do. I don't really know how a puppet's supposed to be able to protect their people." And that is what breaks through to Kaguragi and kind of starts to break him down and make him kind of understand maybe he was being a bit of a dick, And it's funny because God Kabuto and God Kuwagata are fighting, and Kuwagata gets the upper hand and does an uppercut and hugs Kabuto, which is just fucking Sentai goofy silliness, but whatever. And so he does that, and it's really entertaining, honestly. They end up, working together. They form the full King-Ohger, and they get to use God Kabuto this time to fight the, is that Kanajim? Is that what the bigger ones are? Sanajim are the smaller ones, and Kanajim are the monsters, whatever. Defeat the monster who has, armor, basically, that, any blasters bounces off of it. So they destroy it completely. Kaguragi, of course, humbly thanks everybody, you guys are saviors, blah, blah, blah. And Yama says, well, that's weird. Well, if he, had Gira with him all this whole time, why wouldn't he have just given him up to Rockleys? And just a bunch of things that don't make sense. Red flags to Yama. Again, he's very smart. He's very much thinking forward and trying to, read the field and see what's going on. Read the room, if you will. And then we see Kaguragi, as he's holding Gira's hand after he says he will join him and blah, 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 kind of squeeze it and say, I'm really sorry for what I have to do here, but forgive me if you can. And Gira's like, huh? And he holds him kind of in like a physical lock with his arms and says, great judge of Gokhan, I have him here, blah, 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 we're ready to go. And out comes Rita, who says that he's been, clearly he's got crimes of treason, and that he's, invaded their country, even though it's just him, and that she's taking Gira prisoner, and she's going to bring him, they, Papillon Ohger is going to take, Rita is going to take Gira prisoner to their country to face trial, basically. So that's how we end the episode. So overall, it's a really good episode. I think it's a really great introduction to Hachioger. He's definitely going to be probably one of my favorites. I'm really enjoying everybody. For me, it's currently Yama, Hachioger, Gira, and then Himena. And I think that Papillon Ohger will probably be somewhere in the upper part of that as well. But he's really unique, and I like that he presents himself as this kind of weird, boastful, kind of oafish idiot character, but he's actually really fucking smart, and I like that a lot. And I like that we see a bit of the teamwork in this episode, where Kamakiri Ohger is always ready to just fucking make heads roll. Tamba Ohger is always ready to come up with a plan first, of what they're going to do to fight and everything. So I like that we get to see the beginnings of that teamwork, right? Of that happening with the team. Again, it's going to be really interesting to see going forward this happening because of how, of all them being kings, other than Gira's not really a king, but we'll see. They do mention this episode. It shows Rita before the end of the episode talking about it's Rockleys, and he says that she, his secondary little servant guy is is the great judge still here? He goes, they are, and he's like, what do they want? And he says that, well, I think they requested to look at the royal records, and they found something intriguing there. So I'm assuming what she found out was what we're all guessing is that Gira is the true bloodline, heir to the throne, and maybe Rockleys isn't, or Rockleys has tried to push him aside and make him not seem like he was a big deal. And if you know from the scans and stuff, we've seen Okuagata Ohger, which is the silver extra hero type thing, which people think is Rockleys. I don't know if it's going to be. It might be. They have a different Ohger caliber. But we'll see where that goes exactly. But overall, really good episode. I really like Kaguragi Dabowski. I think he had a really great presence. I like that he had all these different manipulations and layers of manipulations that he was pulling off. I think it was really good and strong, and I think worked really well for his character, introducing him overall. But let me know in the comments below what you guys thought. My score, probably give it a strong 9 out of 10. Wasn't as awesome as last week with Kamakiri, but I still really enjoyed it. Actually, I'm sorry, it'd probably be about equal. So I'd probably say 9.5. I'm sorry. I did really enjoy it, but I did want a bit more about Kaguragi in it. I think we get a good amount, but I think it could have given us just a little bit more. And I think it was a little quick for Gira to trust him, but Gira does kind of come off like a Goku character who tries to do the best in everybody type of thing. So it makes sense for his character. But let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? Would you love it, hate it, in the middle? Coming up for content this week, it's currently clearly the King-Ohger review. I'm also going to do my Geats episode 28. 28 review. Is that wrong? So 28, 27, 28, where we're at, whatever. And then for the show this week, we're hoping to have some guests. We're not sure about that. Might just be me and Frankie. But if we do go to record for Henshins and Homies, the topic will be the beauty/ugliness of Toku Twitter. And then also our favorite, most outrageous, funny, exciting, insane tokusatsu moments. This can be character moments, a character death, a transformation, reactions to said events that happen, what have you. Just thought it'd be kind of fun to do that and talk about ones that just, our favorite, most hype moments and things like that. So, but definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think about today's video and the review and the episode overall. How are you feeling about King-Ohger so far? Thank you guys so much for subscribing, commenting, sharing the video, watching, all that good stuff. I thank you guys so much. And for the same with all the Henshins and Homies podcasts. Thank you so much. Well, until next time, stay hooked on Heroes. I'll talk to you later.